The Hawaii Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ule Agbayani, and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. Back in studio now, so hopefully the YouTube live stream will work just fine. But don't quote me on that. Don't hold us to that because you never know what's going to happen. Happy Aloha Monday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. It feels kind of weird now to be back in studio after spending the week out there at Circle Resort and Casino outside in Stadium Swim with our good buddy Kyle Galdera, who is now... He made the quick turnaround, and he is now in Maui for the Maui Invitational to kind of help out with that as well. So everybody, we just keep rocking and rolling. I know Paul was out this weekend covering all the other University of Hawai'i sports as well that were here back at home with Rainbow Wahine Volleyball Senior Night. You had the Rainbow Wahine basketball team saving us this weekend from the weekend and week of total heartbreak in which, the Friday football game, then Saturday's senior night Rainbow Wahine volleyball loss. But fortunately, the Rainbow Wahine basketball team did salvage us. So we'll talk about that. Oh, yep. Nope, just not right on cue. There you go.
That seems not good. I would say
seems
that's
like a time that
bad.
I can. Yay! Here, this is the kind of show it's going to be this morning.
I would agree in your statement from before the show now that Christmas does seem to be a great time. In fact, perhaps an early Christmas might be on the way for you, my friend, because that's not the way you want to start your Aloha Monday, but that's mean, that's the way that it was for UH Athletics this past weekend. So, I mean, we're just trying to stick with the vibe, right?
I'm trying to recover both emotionally and just sleep wise. And I already was going to preface it it's going to be a wonky Monday because really barely any lack of sleep. And it wasn't even I was partying out in Vegas, yada, yada, yada. It's just the hours and then doing the 3-hour show and then, I don't know, flying back late last night and then getting up early to get into show mode this week and a lot going on. This evening, we'll bring you HPU versus Manoa men's basketball action. So it's just wrapping my head around everything. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then my computer just wants to decide to do this to me. So, hey, there you go. Let's see it. Let's see if she wants to. Okay, we got the Apple signal. Okay. Oh,
my guess. Here's
okay.
It truly
She's
is.
Okay. She just wanted to be funky today.
Truly is like the weekend for UH Athletics.
Yeah.
It was rough at the start, but by the end, we finally got back on track. And that's what your laptop did as well.
That's what we're doing.
See, it's a perfect segue for us to talk about UH.
Oh, man. I'm probably going to need a power nap before our broadcast tonight.
God, dude. I have it scheduled on my calendar. You know how I need my desk calendar so I know all the stuff going on? Power nap, 12:30, written down.
Power nap. But yes, hope you guys can make it out to the Bank Arena at Stan Sheriff Center tonight for HPU versus UH Manoa men's basketball action. Kyle is not here. That was when last week I kept having to pause before I would reintroduce ourselves because I'm
curious.
Alongside Kyle Galdera. I'm cool.
It's just
Paul Brecht is in studio. So that's kind of how I feel right now. I'm all right, I need to get my bearings by this evening. And Paul next to me, Kyle is on Maui once again. But thank you to Kyle for joining us last week in Las Vegas. But Paul will be on the call for the play-by-play, and I will be in the analyst row for tonight's men's basketball game, which we're looking forward to. You guys can hear us again this evening. And if you miss it, you can listen on demand as well as you can with all of our games. But yeah, what a weekend. Again, University of Hawai'i football loss. We'll get into more of the details of that recap coming up throughout this hour. Like we mentioned, we'll talk a little bit about Rainbow Wahine volleyball missing the Big West Conference tournament. because they suffered that loss on Saturday against Long Beach State. Should they have won, they would have actually made it in there. But nonetheless, got a few seniors that were celebrated. So we'll hear from Coach Robin and what she had to say after, and one of the seniors in Tyler Reese-Mane as well. We'll talk some Rainbow Wahine basketball because, like we just said, they salvaged the weekend and were able to beat a Portland team that just seemed to have their number, but winning that tournament title for the Rainbow Wahine as they still, and we saw the return of a lot of the players this weekend with Victoria Tamilo and Imani Perez.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, it's nice having some size back there on the court. So it was a lot. And again, coming off of this weekend from Vegas, and Vegas was fun. The weather was wonky, but nonetheless, our guests were amazing. I still have to put
like
together
a great time.
Yeah, I still want to put together like condensing some of the interviews, putting together some of like snippets, not just on social media, but also on our website, because there was a lot of fascinating stories and information that were shared by everybody, especially like our UNLV guests were very interesting, and Dr. Beau Bernard and Dr. Michelle Coiner really sharing a lot about their experience in UNLV and sports tourism, all of that stuff. So I think a lot of things we could take away, and just like a quick write-up stuff for you guys as well in case you missed it. Of course, Derek Stevens capping off Friday's show. Like, what a perfect timing. We get the owner and CEO of that property.
He got a chance to join us.
He's like, I didn't know we were live, and trying to like take a picture while we're live on air.
It was so funny.
That's what happens when you have these shows that are like, especially in Las Vegas. You don't know what's going to happen, and it was just the vibes were high.
It's charming.
Now, like I said, it feels weird to be in the studio and not looking over like the pool and the weather. But then at the time when we did like the first Tuesday show, it's like, okay, how's my notes, and like my computer is not on my little stand thing, and
I did
it's
use
a
your
lot.
stand while you
I
were
saw
gone.
it on that side.
I was like, oh well. I mean, I don't want it to just feel lone. I don't want it to collect dust while you're gone, of course. So I figured I would use it here in the studio.
Oh man, and yeah.
Back in our soccer ball.
I did indeed put together another, or not put together, but I did put in another futures bet, which was also to top off an already interesting wonky weekend in Las Vegas. As you guys probably have known and seen, that the Las Vegas Grand Prix was in there, third year. And so if you guys don't pay attention to F1 a lot, basically they have all these races, and similar to soccer, you get X amount of points for where you place and blah, 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 blah. And so it was clear that one driver was going to almost like take the championship with like a couple more races left in the season. He finished second in the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen was the one who took it all. But it was interesting because it came out. I woke up to this on Sunday morning, and both of the McLaren racers were disqualified essentially, because it was like, there's like an under thing under the car. So if you don't know too much about Formula One, it's called Formula One because the teams are given specific formulas that they need to abide by.
Too much math.
Yeah, need to abide by in order to build their cars. So they build their cars. Obviously, you want to account for being aerodynamic. The faster, the better. Yada yada yada. And so it was like some undercarriage thing that it had to be like 9 millimeters now, not inches, like millimeters. And I guess the two McLaren cars, it got scraped up or whatever. And then it was basically too thin. Like it ended up being like as thin as they described it as thin as like a hair. It was like a hair, literally a hair, like that much of a millimeter off of what it should be. And so Piastri and Lando Norris got disqualified, so their points that they accumulated from the F1 Las Vegas Grand Prix essentially did not count. And so, like, Lando Norris was, by all accounts, going to run away with this season, even if he didn't win the next race, because of points accumulated. And now, for all of our F1 or racer fans, it's very much up in the air on who's going to win. And now Max Verstappen, who has been one of the best racers in the recent years and has won championships for F1, he very much has a chance now. So, doing what I do, I'm like, you know what? Futures bet on Max Verstappen. I think I got it at plus 175. I'm like, before I leave, what's my futures bet? All right, let's go with Max Verstappen. Plus, I have some sports cards of his. So after he won like the Las Vegas Grand Prix like 2 years ago, I'm like, all right, I love this guy. He's cool. And then, put a little sprinkle on there and we'll see how it goes, fam. And we'll go with it. That's the little F1 stuff that was happening up there. So it was incredible. People, I swear there were like way more Hawaii fans that are becoming F1 fans because on the flight home on Hawaiian Airlines, where you could tell there were local people, a lot of F1 gear. Like everyone had these F1 jackets on, F1 t-shirts, and because it's rare that there's a lot of U.S. fans because there's rarely any U.S. drivers. In fact, the most recent one they had last year, I think he barely even lasted a season. So I think that's part of the reason why it's failed to gain a lot of traction, because there's no American per se that people can cheer for in terms of driving, because it's only X amount of teams. Each team gets 2 cars / 2 drivers per team. And it was pretty cool. It's kind of like when the Vegas Golden Knights first came about, and I see a lot of like Hawaii people that are hockey fans now, which is pretty cool. So, Las Vegas. It just bodes into that's what the sports tourism is, and sports continues to grow in Las Vegas. But nonetheless, it was a fun story, and I hope Max Verstappen. You guys got to cheer. If you're not an F1 fan, now you are, because we're going to cheer for Max Verstappen to win it all, so that I can at least claim some money, because I cashed no tickets in Las Vegas.
It's tough. You don't love hearing that.
That's the first time I've said that out loud, actually. Oh. And I'm like, that sucks, because
I'll take it off the record from the actual.
Because technically, I told you guys about this last week, where I went to cash my Hawaii win total over, and they couldn't cash it, and I have to wait till the end of the season. So technically, I did bring up a winning ticket, but I literally could not cash it because it's too early to cash it and have to wait till the end of the season. And then I did put some money on the over for UNLV, and then I did put a little tiny sprinkle on money line just because. And then I obviously was not able to cash any of those. And I cashed no tickets. That was tough.
It's a tough weekend. It's a good thing everything else was fun. Because
I guess I technically cashed one with the Hawaii Stanford money line, but I rolled that into the over, and it essentially did not cash.
Yeah. Well, that was, and we'll get into this, that was the most disappointing part. Well, not the most disappointing part. There were a lot of disappointing parts of that game. The fact that the over didn't hit, and honestly wasn't even close, that was the most shocking thing for me. By the way, I'm over here making faces and thinking, because I've heard of Max Verstappen,
yeah.
I don't know. I have always been under the impression that I don't know why either. He was German. So I was like, yeah, hell yeah.
Dutch.
I'm German.
Oh.
So I've looked it up, and yes, you're right. Obviously, he's Dutch. Also, that's why I thought it was Max Verstappen for a long, long time. Is not. But good-looking guy. So you know what?
Oh, yeah.
I'll still root for him.
You're right. We're all rooting for him, so that way when basketball season is still young, but hopefully we'll be back there in March for the Big West Conference tournament, the final one for the University of Hawaii men's and women's basketball teams.
Then things have gone so unbelievably horrifically wrong that I don't even know. It'd be bad. It would be really, really bad if there is not a return trip in March.
And it's the last one, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like with our Rainbow Wahine volleyball team, it would have been the last tournament, and they didn't. And now we know it's been a tough year, and again, we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail coming up more later in the show. But that was a tough one to swallow. Oh my gosh, Paul. Was this your first senior night loss? Weren't you undefeated since you've been working here?
This was something that I was thinking about, where I'm like, if it's not my first one, it's the first one that's truly, truly notable in my mind, because football always wins. It feels like basketball always wins.
Men's volleyball, obviously.
Yeah, men's volleyball just always wins. Baseball, maybe one of baseball or softball had a loss, but I don't really think so. I have to go back and check.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something that I was thinking about the whole time. I'm like, man, did I manifest this accidentally? Where it was your fault, Paul.
Yeah,
I'll take it. It's my fault. I'm sorry, Rainbow Wahine.
And considering it's really rare, I think UH or in Hawaii in general is the only place that does senior festivities after the game, it feels like. Because even when we were at UNLV, they did the senior ceremonies before the game. And I know that's
My
done
senior
like a
night
lot
was
of places.
before.
Yeah, so it's rare here.
Just
and
in
probably
case.
because in case you
Just
lose,
in case, because
but-
nobody wants to celebrate after a loss.
we're tough like that. So it's like we just take it on the chin.
The
We go out
funny
there
thing
and do the
is-
senior night celebration, whatever.
I look at it as the confidence that you're always going to win on senior
There
night.
you go,
That's
you
what
go.
I look at it as, is that we're not planning on losing. We're planning on winning and doubling the celebration.
Yep.
And just didn't work out this time.
All right. Clearly, I'm trying to push off talking about this
I don't mind.
sad game that we had to witness on Friday with the Rainbow Warriors and the Rebels of UNLV. But yes, it's time to wrap the Band-Aid off because I know that's a lot of what you guys want to talk about. And hopefully the last couple of days you've been able to cope with it. I sure haven't, though. I'm still reeling from it. But luckily we have some pretty entertaining news outside of college or in the world of college football that we can also get into and tell you about if you haven't heard from it yet. But yeah, all right. Time to rip the Band-Aid off, Paul. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about and give your thoughts, our thoughts, and everything about that game that we saw between UH and UNLV on Friday, essentially wiping out Hawaii's chances of a Mountain West Conference Championship game appearance. Now, yes, there is technically, if you really want to calculate it, there is a super long shot that Hawaii could still make it in, but we have essentially written that off because there's a lot that needs to happen. So Hawaii will be in the Hawaii Bowl, but technically they haven't gotten an invite yet either. So Hawaii will at least be playing in a bowl game, but they will not be playing in an added Mountain West Championship game. So after that disappointing loss to UNLV, and again, the loss itself is not the disappointment. It's what happened in that game because the UNLV was a favorite for a reason. Hawaii was the away team, but as Paul mentioned not too long ago, the tough part was that the over didn't even come close, that it wasn't even a game down the stretch. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking the same thing. So we'll talk about that. And again, I was just pushing it off. Still, I don't want to talk about it.
Good job. That was 2 extra minutes.
I don't want to talk about it, Paul.
That was 2 full extra minutes that
But
you
it's our
just.
job. Dang it.
It is our job, and we will eventually get to some therapy. But if we can continue to bloviate even an extra 30 seconds right now, it's like when you're in college and you're trying to hit the word count.
Yeah.
You're just adding a few extra. You know, the Rainbow Wahine lost, but also so did the Rainbow Warrior football team on Saturday at TC. No.
And
anyway.
then Thursday, the Rainbow Warrior basketball team. And now
God,
blah, blah, blah. But we already talked about that on Friday's show. So anyways, all right, we'll be back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
You think you have an inside point of view. You think that you can
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. We've got a kind of new camera angle because fortunately I didn't forget the actual cameras, the iPad that we need, my computer, even though she gave me a scare in the beginning. But we did have to change up the angle a little bit on the wide shot because I forgot one of these arm things that we use to hold up our cameras. So I'm remembering most of the important things. So that's the main thing. As much in my state that I'm like, all right, let me go.
Remembered all the important things.
Because I at least got the little tripod, so we have a wide shot.
It's like really just a tangential little thing. Yeah. It's whatever. Like
we're good.
I don't know. It's cool. I'm sure the beautiful people appreciate
you're
a little
kind
different
of in
view.
It. You're kind of in a wide shot.
I'm in it as much as I really need to be.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I'd probably be back a little bit further. But whatever.
All right. Clearly, I'm pushing it
I
up
was
some
gonna
more.
say we should talk about it.
I don't wanna, Paul. I don't wanna.
You're right.
I don't wanna.
Cal's loss to Stanford was pretty ugly.
It's the ugliest it got. All right. Oh, that's funny. Call into message a new camera angle. Hype. I wish it was.
What's going on here?
I wish it was a planned new camera angle, but as I just told you that I forgot one of the things.
Nope.
Anyways, all right,
True
we got to
plan.
talk about it. Hawaii's loss on the road on Friday night at UNLV, 38 to 10. That was a tough one to swallow for, of course, myself, Paul, our media crew, and definitely all of you fans out there. I know that was a tough one, and everyone is heartbroken about it. On the positive note, it was nice to feel like we had a chance to be in the Mountain West Conference Championship. I think if you asked anyone before the season, except for myself, because I was kind of like manifesting this all the way through. I think we were saying this in the beginning of the season, but for the most part, right? Like I think realistically, a lot of people, the minimum expectation was, hey, this is the year Hawaii is going to make a bowl game, and they did so, and they qualified for one a lot earlier than they do usually, right? And then when the Boise having not the great year that they've had, and there was San Diego State up there, but the Mountain West being that it became very realistic to make this Mountain West championship game, and a lot of us got that is what our positive Paul hat was manifesting, like this. They're gonna do it. They're gonna get into the Mountain West Championship game. Yada yada yada. So it feels such a weird feeling that like that has been ripped away when it wasn't maybe the true expectation in the first place, because Hawaii still has another football game to play, right? In the bowl game, obviously they have senior night coming up this Saturday that I hope you guys all show up to at Ching. But it was like a double whammy of, oh, there goes our Mountain West Championship hopes after that 38 to 10 loss, and then just the game itself. It was just very uncharacteristic, but yet at the same time almost Hawaii reverting to what we've seen in the past. Tons of penalties, over 100 yards, a lot of penalties on the offensive line, which made them play far behind, and obviously you need to draw up different plays for the offense. Credit to UNLV. Their team basically took it personally like Hawaii did against San Diego State. People talking about UNLV's defense being so horrible, Hawaii just being this incredible team, and they're going to come in there and beat UNLV. Well, you know what? Dan Mullen, I mean, he is a high-paid coach and a coach that spent a lot of time winning in the SEC and against P5 opponents at the time. And they came out with a good game plan defensively, especially putting a lot of stress and pressure on that offensive line, which, as you guys could see, caused a lot of those holding penalties, caused Micah Alejado to be under duress in the entire game. It kind of felt similar to what we saw with that Fresno State game when they came over here and just put a ton of pressure, sending more guys than our line could handle. And so credit to UNLV that they came with that game plan from the jump, because that's what it felt like. Well, the beginning felt good because it was like, oh, Hawaii got to stop, held UNLV to a field goal. This is going to be great. Hawaii turns around and scores, hits that nice pass out there to Jackson Harris. Wow, this is going to be great. And then it all kind of went down there from there. Anthony Calandria showed why he was someone that we were mentioning, someone that is in the conversation for Conference Offensive Player of the Year. I joked about this with you, Paul, during the break. I was like, yeah, Anthony Calandria read our article and listened to us talking about how Micah has the chance, and he took that personally. And he's like, oh, let me show you guys why I'm the best offensive player in this league. So kind of like when we go back to the San Jose State game, I'm like, why do you guys on the opposing team prove me right? Can you just not, like, can you not prove us right where we hype you up, and then can you just like not do that and then go out there and show us what we've been talking about for this whole time? Anthony Calandria showing everybody why he is that good, but it was a tough one to see. Hawaii again, 231 yards total, which we've been so accustomed to seeing, 231 yards was how the passing has been on a bad day, right?
Like that's a quarter.
But total yards, passing yards, 163. That was tough. And again, 11 penalties for over 100 yards, 103 yards to be exact. Just 12 first downs for Hawaii to UNLV's 29 first downs. But I think it's just the way that the full game completely played out, because in the first half, honestly, because Hawaii against San Jose State showed the ability for the offense to come back, I was not worried at all. I mean, Hawaii was down 24-10. That's still a very winnable game when you're going into halftime, and we've seen them turn it around before. And then just not being able to find the end zone, get into field goal territory, held to zeros in the second half. I think that was the most shocking part, and not the loss wasn't entirely shocking. Yes, Hawaii has the talent and ability to have won, but I think the score, and you guys knew because we were kind of saying that, this game is going to be over. I'm not surprised that Hawaii's defense let up 38 points to the Rebels. The most shocking part is the offense not being able to find the end zone a little bit more. UNLV making the adjustments they needed to, and that was the unfortunate thing, because I thought at the low end, if it was going to hit under that 64.5 total, it was going to be like 38-24 or something, right?
Yeah.
Like I was thinking it would be at least close, like to that total, maybe hit, like I said, maybe 60, maybe a little bit below. This was something, this to not even hit a total in the 50 was very, very shocking, because, we just expected a little bit more from the Hawaii offense.
I expected a lot more from the Hawaii offense, if you're asking me to be honest with you right now. I mean, this is a UNLV defense that has been much maligned all year, and that's not to say that they are incapable of having a good game, but this is a Hawaii offense that has been crushing opponents. I mean, we just saw, and once again, I do understand that San Diego State was down 2 starters versus Hawaii, but nonetheless, put up 38 points against a very talented San Diego State defense, and I understand you're at home, but you can't have these Jekyll and Hyde performances away from the island, right? It can't be that bad. And this one, we talked about this a little bit off air and a little bit over text, where this one felt like UNLV really, really did take this game personally, and Hawaii almost took it as every other game. And that can't be the case at this point in the year. This was a playoff game 2 weeks before the playoffs even began, or 2 weeks before you even know what the playoffs even look like. So it was frustrating, because I don't want to sit here and say that these guys didn't take the game seriously. No. Because I don't think that's the case at all. Yeah. But UNLV very clearly was laser focused from the very start. This was a team who jumped on every single one of Hawaii's mistakes. Hawaii had an opportunity in this game to take control after going up 7-3, 3rd and 13. A defensive holding penalty, which, by the way, whatever.
Not all the blame can be put on our players for some of those penalties, because But
a defensive holding on 3rd and 13 gives a free first down. They go up. They end up going down and scoring, and from there, Hawaii never recovers. And also, to say this, the defense, to their credit, if you told me that the defense in one of the 4 quarters would hold UNLV completely scoreless, I'd feel great about Hawaii's chances of winning this game, right? It really is disappointing that the offense wasn't able to get anything going against this UNLV team, because, once again, it's not that UNLV is devoid of talent. It's not that their defense is some, Division III level undermanned when they're facing opponents every single week, but it is one that has given up points to everyone and to offenses much less talented than Hawaii's. So for Pefele Ashlock to go without a catch, to Nick Senecal being out, to Brandon White dropping a touchdown, I mean a for sure touchdown that would have changed the game in that first half. Jackson Harris even was neutralized after that 70-yard or 75-yard touchdown, whatever it was, to open up the game. He ends up with 79 total yards. Somebody else has to step up, and guys just didn't in this one. So it was disappointing, obviously. I know that nobody is more disappointed than the team themselves, the coaches themselves. They wanted this one badly. I'm sure that flight sucked back home. It was not fun. But the fact of the matter is the season's not done. You still have another week. You have a senior night crowd that is sold out already. So they are expecting you to go out and put on a show, send out the seniors in an appropriate way in the regular season. And like we've said multiple times, the beautiful thing about this Mountain West Chase is that you always had a bowl game in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. You always clinched your postseason eligibility so many weeks ago. So that's the positive if you want to take that away, because you're right, and you brought that up before, where the expectations changed for this season about midway through because of how good they were. And that's unfair to a point, but it is important to remember that when we're assessing the season as a whole. You're allowed to be disappointed after this loss. I'm never going to tell people how to be fans. But I will ask you to remember that this was a massive step up in the season, or in terms of from last season to this season. They have an opportunity to finish the year strong still. And then the question becomes retention and consistency. Can you do it again next year and the year after that? That's a conversation for another day. But this was a disappointing loss. Just a no-show from the offense and the defense. They tried their best. They did what they could. But ultimately, when the offense shows up or doesn't show up like this, you needed a lot more from the defense, and you didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Look at, like, when I'm looking back at UNLV's schedule, I mean, Utah State able to put up 26 against UNLV in Las Vegas.
This was the worst offensive performance since Arizona.
Yeah,
for
so
UH.
And that was with a banged-up Micah Alejado, where this game was a very much
on the road against a P4.
Healthy-ish Micah, and everyone seemed to, like I said, that one drive and they hit Jackson Harris, it seemed like, wow, this is going to be a real back-and-forth game. And then UNLV just able to make the adjustments. Hawaii, again, a lot of those penalties on the offensive line, so Hawaii kept getting pushed back. You know, you can never scheme up enough of these good plays to try to make up for the 15 yards that you have to go, right? And it seems like Hawaii, that's another thing I want to mention, like Hawaii tends to have, like when they're playing fast, when they're playing with the rhythm, that's when we see the offense clicking. Mm-hmm. So this game very much felt like they just could not find that rhythm. And I texted you guys this too. Nationally televised game on FS1. And when you're sitting there watching it in person, like, man, I forget how much I hate watching national games in person because the breaks are a lot longer than Spectrum, and there's so many.
So slow.
It's like breaks, and another break, and then everything.
Well,
and what?
I told you, because obviously you're off in Vegas. Michael and I are here. Also, by the way, shout out to Michael. I don't want to leave him out because he also worked so hard this way. He went to another island.
Oh yes, we'll talk about that later.
But
yes.
What, I don't even remember. I just wanted to give Michael a shout out.
Well, I was saying, again, the Hawaii just couldn't get into a rhythm offensively. One, because of the penalties. Again, like a lot of those really bad holding calls on the line, so pushing them back, and then that kind of messes you up, changes the play calling and all of that stuff. And then just so much breaking the action. Now, it's not like they haven't played on national TV this year, and, you know, there's media timeouts. But when you're there, like when I was watching it in person, you could just feel that there was no rhythm to the Hawaii offense. Again, like and that's part of with Hawaii being the way that they play and how we've seen them flow when they do have that offense going. There was it was just very, very stagnant throughout the evening. And I don't know, some of you guys, if you were there watching it in person, can attest to it, but it did feel like there was just so much downtime and there was just no rhythm. Nothing was cohesive with Hawaii and again, a lot of that could have to do with the penalties. A lot of that you just couldn't really get going. And I think that's if Hawaii and when Hawaii gets out of that kind of rhythm offensively, then you see these kinds of stinkers of games that get put up. Again, it's not an excuse. They need to figure out a way
That's
to
just a
not
fact of the
be
matter.
able to be pushed down offensively like this when they can't find the rhythm. They need to figure it out. But just being the team that they are this year, that's what it felt like. It's just they couldn't. And again, UNLV came with a good game plan. Like I said not too long ago, they were doing the Fresno State and sending a lot of guys, overwhelming the offensive line, overwhelming Micah Alejado. So they came with that game plan. Dan Mullen drew up and co. And so Hawaii just wasn't ready for it. You know, I got to really go back and watch I haven't had a chance to watch the replay. I only had a chance to watch the in person.
After traveling?
Yeah.
You haven't...
Or it's like, what? You want to torture yourself
Yeah, well,
and watch
that's
game?
the other thing. You want to watch it again. I also remember what I was going to say where, yeah, you're 100% right in terms of playing behind the sticks. Hawaii, if you go back and you look at these games that they're so good in, yes, they're hitting the big plays. Yes, they have the Jackson Harris big, home run, touchdown level plays. But they also are playing from in front of the sticks for the entirety of the game, where they're in second down and 3, or they're in third down and 2, and they're able to play from these short yardage downs and in this nice rhythm, and it's death by a million paper cuts, and then they hit you with the deep ball, and that's what they could never do in this game because of those penalties, because it moves you back, and then if you pick up 5 yards on, second down and 12, now instead of, second down and 2 or whatever it was, instead of a first down, it's 3rd and 7, which is still manageable, but not as manageable. And the offensive line, it did struggle in this one to get as much push. You see that as well, where the rushing attack never really got going in this one. And
again, the UNLV defensive line was swarming. It was insane. And obviously they have the size, but when they were playing and came with that game plan, it's what are you going to do? But again, all of that to say once again, if Hawaii can take care of business this Saturday, as we assume that they will, to Wyoming, right? Wyoming, they fell to Nevada 13-7 over the weekend. And all of a sudden, Hawaii finishes off the regular season 8-4 overall, 5-3 in the Mountain West Conference.
You feel great about that.
Yeah, if you told a lot of people, including ourselves, in the beginning of the season that's how it would end, you'd be like, "Wow, bowl game, winning season." First winning season under head coach Timmy Chang.
Where I can sign on the dotted line.
Yeah, and it's like an actual winning season. It's not we're at 500. It's they legitimately have a winning season this year.
Two games over 500 is legitimate.
Take that anytime. So it's more of the, all right, we're just emotionally reeling right now after that weekend and seeing the Mountain West Championship game berth just get ripped out of our hearts. And then the way that it did, again, to that disappointing loss that Hawaii had. Because if they had lost in that a final score of, like I mentioned, 38 to even 24, I would have been able to cope a little bit more. But it was yeah. It was so depressing that I wasn't even allowed to feel like party mode in Vegas. I'm like, I'm sad. After the same thing on Thursday with the men's basketball team, I'm like,
yeah,
I can't quit you.
It is.
Anyways, we got to take a break. We'll be back to continue some college football talk on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den, back in the den. We're traveling back from broadcasting live from Stadium Swim at Circa Resort and Casino. Again, shout out to Kyle Galdera for joining me on air and for Paul for holding it down in studio. And, of course, Michael Lascaro going all over the place to bring you guys coverage on social media. And there will be some stuff online or on our website later as well. So, yeah, hashtag team no sleep, hashtag team no days off, except for this weekend when we get Thanksgiving off and Black Friday. But our full day continues later on today because, we will be...
I was going to say, this is day 5 in a row, I think, of athletics?
There you go. We will get a weekend off because then there will be UH football on Saturday and we're rocking and rolling again. But yes, thank you guys for tuning in this and every weekday morning, now at our regular time from 8 to 10. But hope you enjoyed us going a little bit earlier last week. Tuesday through Friday, we were 7 to 10. I know you guys were excited about that. And then sorry that the live stream was kind of being all boggy. We were able to somewhat figure it out on Thursday and Friday, but technology, as we mentioned. But we were able to be alive with you guys for 3 hours and had a bunch of special guests. So I hope you guys either can tune in or listen on demand wherever you get your podcast, especially if you're a Raiders fan, because we had Dr. Bo Bernard tell us the interesting story about how he had a significant hand, along with one of his former students, in bringing the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas. So a lot of stuff that we learned. And I can't wait to kind of circle around that and share a lot of that stuff with you guys on social media. But we are talking about the UH football game. Again, Hawaii losing to UNLV 38-10 on Friday evening. And the other part that kind of stings about Hawaii losing that game is because one of the scenarios that had to happen did in order for Hawaii to get help with making it into the Mountain West Championship game. Because we said if Hawaii wins out, you need some help in other places. Well, one thing did happen over the weekend in that Fresno State lost to Utah State 28-17, and because Fresno State had a tiebreaker over Hawaii, that was one thing that needed to happen. Was Fresno needed to lose because if they remained tied, they would be ahead of Hawaii because they beat Hawaii. But that was one thing that had to happen, and I'm like, dang it, because it was one that you weren't really expecting to happen. The game was in Fresno State, Utah State not having the best season. And then
it was just
the
an extra
Aggies
dagger.
Able to. I'm like, great.
Yep,
that's great.
It was one that I almost rolled my eyes at. Of course it happened after. The only thing that else was needed was New Mexico losing, which wasn't even close. But nonetheless, oh God, it was one of those things where I sat there. I was like, of course. This is going on today. And it's just, honestly, that was kind of the whole weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyways, but you kind of mentioned, one of the other losses being as bad as Hawaii's loss, and that was the, a rivalry game in itself happening there in California.
Objectively worse, honestly.
Yeah. Between Stanford and Cal, there was even a little almost fight afterwards. Jaren Keave Sangapolu-Tele getting all heated about someone saying something after the game. It was a whole thing. I guess Andrew Luck having quite the moment in-game interview, sideline interview,
live.
where
I
it's
was
he's
what the?
I think it was a pick six, right? And then or something.
It was a fumble.
Oh, fumble.
And he's like all of us. He starts, ball, and he's running away from the microphone. And tell you what, great job by the sideline reporter following along, but not getting in the way just enough so that you could still hear his reaction. It was an elite moment, even for somebody who was rooting for Cal in the moment. And man, oh man, what you want to talk about a brutal loss? That was a brutal loss by Cal, right? Where we talk about coming off bye weeks looking lifeless. That was that. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
And probably the biggest news to come out of that loss, at least in terms of the interest with Hawaii fans, is that the Cal head coach, Justin Wilcox, did end up getting fired after that game. And the interim head coach, as announced by their general manager, Ron Rivera, their interim head coach for now it's weird because you see some other like speculation on who their new head coach could potentially be, but their new head coach currently to end off this season is none other than their offensive analyst, someone that we might be familiar with, by the name of Nick Rolovich. So Nick Rolovich, now the interim coach at Cal, and it is interesting because you see some of the early projections on who could be the new coach, and they're putting out other names, and I'm like, I don't know, you guys don't know what this Nick Rolovich guy can scheme up. Now, obviously, we know what happened at Washington State with the COVID-19, yada, yada, yada.
It is a little hilarious for him to be the head coach at Cal after that, by the way.
It's just...
Simulation likes to mess with us a little bit.
Exactly. And so Nick Rolovich now, the new... I was going to say the new head coach. I guess so. The interim head coach there at Cal. And so there is even more fuel added to the fire and the speculation on the potential that, and this is the newest bold predictions on ESPN.com, that it could be, this was maybe a projection like 4 or 5 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, the early one, that it could be the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and the Cal Golden Bears that are projected to be matched up in the Hawaii Bowl, which is crazy. I mean, if you talk about wanting to sell out Ching, this is how you do it. You make these teams play. Both teams, no potential to make their conference championships, no potential to make the CFP. So why not do it for the fans? Why not do it for the ticket sales? And I know there was some talk about, but you're supposed to have like Mountain West opponents and conference or whatever it is now. But when I go to the Hawaii Bowl website, it doesn't have what it used to have, where it has the two conferences versus each other kind of graphic. Right. So it's kind of all up in the air right now. And if you're ESPN Events, this is the bowl game that you want here in Hawaii. Jaren Keave Sangapolu was one storyline when it first got mentioned that this could be a possibility. Now you have Nick Rolovich as the head coach of Cal with a quarterback that's local. And then you have Nick Rolovich going against Timmy Chang, two former quarterbacks. And they had the crossover of when they played here at UH with Nick Rolovich coming in for a struggling Timmy Chang and then having a really good season after that. It's like the storylines are storylining at this point, and this would be insane if, please, football powers that be that determine these bowl games and ESPN Events and the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, this is 100% the bowl game that the fans need this Christmas. No Diamond Head Classic, so this will make up for the heartache of not having some men's basketball to watch if you make this Hawaii Bowl matchup happen. Please.
I will joke that if this is the matchup that ends up happening, I know it's the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl. I will be nicknaming it the Positive Paul Hawaii Bowl, just because this will be like, man, oh man, these are my guys. These are my guys. It'd be fun. As soon as I saw it the first time, I was like, as soon as I saw it the second time, that's when I was like, all right, we need to get this actually some momentum. And then now I've seen multiple projections of it. I think the Hawaii fans deserve it. I think it would be fun to see Hawaii fans and the Calgorithm. I just, it'd be enjoyable. Make it happen. Just win this week, please.
Yeah. Yeah, before we think about the Hawaii Bowl, Hawaii needs to win against Wyoming for sure and take care of business on senior night. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back to close out hour number 1 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
One of the
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. This and every Monday. Thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, on demand as well. You guys can go and watch back if you miss anything. We're talking a lot of UH football. Let's see. I'm looking at some of our texts or comments and stuff. Caesar saying Rolo is awesome. Great coach. Colin, let's see. The storylines for that bowl game would be wild. Exactly. So if you're just tuning in, we were talking about how the latest bowl projections from ESPN.com is that Cal and UH would be tabbed in the Hawaii Bowl, which would be insane for Hawaii fans and for college football because, again, the storylines would be storylining with not only Jaren Keave Sangapolutele, who at one point that was the storyline when they were projected early on or earlier in the season, but now with Nick Rolovich, former quarterback for UH, a quarterback that played on the same team during the same time that Timmy Chang did, right? Because it's a little different when you talk like Coach Ken Neomatalolo and Timmy Chang. Their eras are completely different. There's crossover now with Nick Rolovich and Timmy Chang when they used to play, and then Nick used to coach here, obviously, and it's just a whole thing. So with Nick Rolovich being the interim head coach at Cal against Timmy Chang and UH in the Hawaii Bowl,
It'd be so fun.
Please make it happen. We would probably get our first true. I know we've been sold out a couple of times this season. The game is sold out this Saturday.
This one would be like standing room only
like a
type
true
thing.
sold out where people do show up and are filling the stands, and it would get wild.
You get everyone in the stands filled, and then you know how you have the parking structure there as well. And sometimes you get people. I mean, like. Unironically, that is something that could happen. That is the type of draw this game could have. Also, by the way, how many times do you get a lefty quarterback versus a lefty quarterback?
Ooh,
how fun would that be?
Good addition there by you. Yeah, you're right.
Those are my guys.
I know. It'll be so interesting. Let's see. One other text. Let's see. Earlier he texted, tune in for some UH football talk instead. Got me some Ku'ulei F1 knowledge. You're welcome. Yes. When I say I pretty much follow every sport, now you know I pretty much follow every single sport. It was disappointing because it wasn't competitive talking about the UH game. UH made UNLV look like an SEC team on national TV. Now the UNLV Dogs will use this game tape and enter the transfer portal to get more money because they look that much better than UH. Well, that's a struggle for every team. Going to be a struggle for UH as well. But if they parlay this into a Mountain West Championship game this time around or a Mountain West Championship game win, they made it last year but lost to Boise, even though they were the top seed that hosted. But if they're able to take it all the way and win this one, yeah, I mean, then UNLV. But at the same time, at least the future would be bright for the Mountain West, being that UNLV, we mentioned this before, UNLV and Hawaii would have the strongest brands, in my opinion, with the schools that are, I don't want to say left behind, because no, we're going to be better than the Pac-12. The new look, the Mountain West 2.0. So the remaining loyal schools in the Mountain West, UNLV would be the top one.
Stayed.
Yes, loyalty, baby. Okay, last one. Oh, yeah, going back to a text we got last week about our friend that put it's plus 650 UH wins Mountain West Championship. Decent odds, but that's looking very bleak. Also, sorry I didn't get to ask your question about Trump's visit to Circa. It's like Derek was pressed for time, and I'm like,
he was there for 10
we gotta
seconds.
get in all our questions first. But thank you guys all for tuning in and texting in. We gotta take another break. We'll be back for hour number 2. Talk some hoops. Talk some Rainbow Wahine volleyball. We will have a new Open Division state football champ. What? There's a lot of storylines to get to, but we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Now.
to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, on demand wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming live on our YouTube channel this and every single Monday. So thank you guys for joining us on our YouTube, or you can always go back and watch it if you miss anything. But we've been talking a lot of UH football. Obviously, we'll get into some UH men's and women's basketball hoops in this hour as well. Some UH women's volleyball also were in action, missing the Big West Conference tournament after they lost to Long Beach State on Saturday, but still were able to celebrate a few seniors on senior night. So we'll get to that and let you hear what Coach Robin had to say after the game as well. So a lot to still get into. Feel free to text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481, or you can chime in on the YouTube chat as well. I got to tell a fun story, actually, before we get into some hoop stuff. Don't forget, we'll have UH versus HBU men's basketball action tonight on Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Paul Brecht and myself will be on the call for you guys. But pretty cool story over the weekend, or I guess yesterday. Over the weekend.
I mean,
yesterday.
Both
it is
would
a
be
weekend.
correct, technically.
But yesterday, so one of our friends, there was a pretty big contingent Hawaii fan base, obviously, but like a bunch of like our usual friends that we hang out and go to games with here, made the trip out there. Well, a couple of our friends, they were eating breakfast, I think at, I don't know what restaurant, but in Encore Hotel, I want to say, Encore or Wynn, one of them. And as we know, yesterday, the Las Vegas Raiders were in town and they were hosting the Cleveland Browns. And Shedeur Sanders making his first start for the Browns yesterday and coming out with that win as well. But, you know, Shedeur kind of has this famous dad that has a lot of resources. Even though he coaches in college football, you know, has some resources to make it and maybe potentially see his son.
Wait, what's his name?
Yeah, see his son start in his very first NFL game. For this first time. And so, as fate would have it, that really committed father, Deion Sanders, some of you guys might be familiar with him. Deion Sanders, no surprise, made the trip to Las Vegas. How do we know that? Well, our friends were eating breakfast and Deion was at the other table and they were very courteous, obviously. They weren't like fangirling or fanboying, at least not like directly to him, like I need a photo, blah, blah, blah. The story was like, he said that he was looking in his phone the whole time and I guess eventually looked up and made eye contact with a friend of ours. And a friend of ours is a Florida State alum. So obviously as Deion Sanders was there. And when he made eye contact, our friend looked at him and was like, hey, man, like Florida State, made a Florida State reference, like, can you come and save our school? Speaking of this being Florida State. And Deion goes, well, I got to save my school first. Colorado not having the great year either. But the best part of that story is later on when my friends went to go cash out, Deion had covered their breakfast.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So, like that's the story. Like, yeah, it would be cool to see Deion in person, yada, yada. And it was one of those where he told the staff to not say anything until they had left.
Hush.
So they didn't know that he covered their breakfast. And I thought that was really, really cool of him, And again, like my friends, that's all they said to him. They didn't ask for a photo or anything, just kind of made that funny Florida State reference. Let's just have a little fun. He's like loves Florida State, our friend does. And then so made that reference to Deion, who was standing out at Florida State and all of that stuff. So they had a little fun back and forth. And then that's all they said to him. And after that, find out that he covered their breakfast. Like, that's pretty cool of Deion Sanders. Yes, he has the means, but he doesn't have to do that. And I thought that was a pretty fun story. One, that obviously he's in town to watch Shedeur have his first start. But that my friends seen him eating breakfast and he covered their breakfast. I'm like, that's winning right there. Like, I'm happy for you guys. I love that. And as someone who's a huge Deion Sanders fan.
I can't even imagine.
And so our friend too is a huge Deion. He went to Florida State because of Deion Sanders.
That's so funny.
Because it was around the same era. I think Deion's like a slightly older, but like seeing him play and all that stuff. Right. It chose Florida State because he's like, man, I want to go to this school and be a part of everything. Again, crazy that football
I was gonna
contributes to
say,
people wanting to
wait,
go
are
to
you
certain
saying that
schools.
sports help
So
college
he went to
recruitment?
Florida. I'm like, I was so happy for him that he kind of had that moment with like one of his favorite football players, if probably his favorite football player, that Florida State guy.
Dude,
all this
that's an
stuff.
all-time
I'm
memory.
like, Deion Sanders bought your breakfast. That's pretty darn cool.
He also, I feel like Deion gets a bad rep, like unfairly. And
Yeah.
listen, I understand that he's not everyone's cup of tea, and I understand that some people would handle their business differently. Some people aren't Deion, you know? But I do think overall he is just a genuinely, genuinely good human being. So that's pretty cool. And I got to imagine he really did appreciate, because like I said, he gets a lot of unnecessary hate, as do all coaches and athletes, especially in college and professional sports now. I have to imagine it was, I don't want to say refreshing, but probably nice for him to have like a almost, hey, you rock, instead of like a, hey, Deion, nice season at Colorado this year, bum.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like I gotta imagine it's pretty nice to be like, hey, come save our program, because that feels like you're still getting the respect that I do think he deserves. So I gotta imagine that was really cool for him. And at the end of the day, like you said, he has the means, and that's an all-time memory for your friend.
Yeah.
So overall, like that's really, really cool.
And something else they added, which again, talk about someone who gets a lot of flack in the media, obviously his son Shador as well. And so they also said to him, he's like, oh, you know, good luck to your son, his first start. Like, we're cheering for him, you know. So I think that all of that adds on to like, wow, someone's like positively giving, like saying these things to me, and also not being like, oh, can we get a selfie, or like really bothersome at breakfast.
That's kind of
So
what I mean as
I'm
well.
like, dang, that's pretty cool. Like, and then he in turn took care of their breakfast, which is really, really cool. Again, I'm a huge Deion fan, and like you said, not a lot of people are a cup of tea, but I feel like he worked his way to kind of earn this persona, and like just the way that he is. I'm like, when you can play both sides of the football to the level that he did, and then play baseball as well.
I was gonna say,
like, you get to a certain level where you're like, you know what, you are one of the rare people in this universe that has ever done what you did. And if you want to be a little cocky about it, I'm like, I can't be mad at it, because you worked your way to get there, and prime time, baby.
He earned his nickname in every way, shape, and form during his career, and even now post-career, whether it was in the media he was exciting to listen to, and then now as a coach, it's fun to follow his journey. So, no, that's what a cool little journey in general, or story.
I was like, I got to share this story. All right, getting back here to the home team, though, for University of Hawaii, let's switch it up a little bit and talk some hoops. We'll get back to some football a little later, but a big game happening tonight. Again, the UH men's side of things trying to bounce back from that loss to Arizona State. We won't rehash that. We already talked about that on Friday, but they are looking to bounce back and welcome in HPU, who seems to be just on the rise right now. They've kind of settled back in against some of the opponents more closer to their level, right? Like they had that huge win at Boise State. You know, the Sharks have arrived, and it'll be an interesting matchup, though, come this evening. Again, you guys can listen to that this evening with Paul on the play-by-play, and I'll be right alongside him in the analyst role on HSRN. We'll jump on air about, maybe 10 minutes or so before 7 p.m. But, Paul, what is kind of like your general outlook and consensus of what we could potentially see this evening? And barring that, we'll see how healthy the University of Hawaii shows up to this game with, right? Like, we know Harry was out in the Arizona State game. We talked about how I think he would have made a significant difference if he were playing. Obviously Isaiah Kerr as well, right? Like, you had to see AJ Economo get into the game a lot earlier than we're used to, because you had no Zay Kerr in that game. So will Hawaii be at full strength against a very competitive HBU team who we talk about? We're in football, we're just talking about how UNLV had that little extra motivation. I mean, the Sharks are going to come in there with that little extra motivation to be able to maybe beat the University of Hawaii for the first time under head coach Jesse Nakanishi, especially, take down another Division I opponent.
Second time ever.
Yeah, this time just down the road from you, right? So there's all these other implications and motivations for the HPU men's basketball team going out there playing with nothing to lose, as they did against Boise State. So Hawaii, big question mark on how healthy they are coming out today. And should they be able to kind of limit some of the mistakes that we've seen at Arizona State? But what is kind of your general matchup outlook for this evening, Paul?
I'm really excited for this one. I think it's two very good basketball teams who are continuing to learn about themselves. I do have question marks about the health of UH, especially considering this is a game against HPU, a Division II opponent. Do they rush Harry Ruliadef back, or do they say, hey, we'd love to give you one extra game before you got a tough North Dakota squad coming in to end the week? Isaiah Kerr, how injured is he? Was it just kind of a blip on the radar, or are you going to have to see extended minutes again for an Aaron Hunkin-Clater? Does AJ Economo get a little extra burn because of foul trouble? Because that's part of what we saw as well, because Hunter Erickson was dealing with foul trouble against Arizona State. So I think it's going to be interesting. I have a few matchups or a few little keys that I'm looking at. One being obviously the rebounding battle. The Sharks, a lot smaller than they've been in previous years, but they're still winning on the glass against the opponents that they have faced so far. And they didn't get dominated versus Boise State on the glass. It wasn't great, but it wasn't, it wasn't like this uncompetitive performance. So I am curious, can they continue that against the UH squad that's been dominating practically everyone on the glass? And then UH's three-point defense has been excellent so far this season. The Sharks can shoot. They can shoot well, and they can shoot a lot. Quentin Meza, how loose does he get tonight? How big does an impact does Josh West have in this one? How many threes? Because last year we saw part of the reason Hawaii was able to beat HPU was because of a good three-point shooting night for themselves. Hawaii they've been hot and cold from three-point range in the first few games this season. Are they going to be able to figure it out against the Sharks from three-point range? So the three-point battle for both sides is something that I'm curious about. At the end of the day, I mean, Hawaii should win this game. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're more talented. But that was also the case about Boise State.
Yeah.
And that didn't do Boise State much good because the Sharks beat them, and not just beat them, outplayed them throughout that game. So if Hawaii's not ready to go tonight, HPU is fully capable of handing them a loss. But I do think Hawaii is going to be motivated after losing that game against Arizona State because, once again, feels like they are talking internally. They should have had that one, and it's frustrating now to have two P4 losses that you really, really feel you could have in your back pocket.
Yeah, and HPU, as we were just talking about, coming in there with nothing to lose, went out there against Boise and able to topple them because you could tell that they were just playing just so freely
Sharks
and
aren't going to be scared tonight.
Oh, no. It's going to, and like you bring up a good point about the three-point shooting because had Cody Williams not gotten hot last year from long distance, it could have been a very different type of ending against HPU last year, right? So they definitely want that game as well. So the Sharks, though, are coming off of a 3-game win streak. They were able to win one game at Alaska against Alaska Fairbanks, 86-85 in overtime. Most recently beat St. Martin's 88-75, and then, most recently Western Washington 86-71 prior to playing Hawaii this evening, 7 p.m. at Banco Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. So they've been putting together a string of wins, only have one loss on the season so far against Alaska Anchorage, and that was still a close one, 70-65. So the Sharks are sharking.
They're also fun offensively.
Yes.
So this is something different than even just the past couple of years, at least in my opinion, because I think both of these programs are built on their defense or prefer to be built on their defenses. And this year it feels like both of them are built a little more offensively minded. I know that was the Sharks' mindset going into the offseason and how they built this roster. They wanted to be able to put up some more points because they felt pretty good about their defensive philosophy being able to go over another year and help them win some games. UH's defense has been really good, but their offense, even without great three-point shooting, has been very, very productive so far. I'm curious about, maybe we get a shootout tonight. That would be fun, wouldn't it? You get like an 85-83 type of first off, I'm sure that would give UH fans a heart attack. But from a broadcaster's standpoint, man, that would be fun. How fun would that be to get over 160 points between these two teams?
I'm like, I feel so bad for saying this because clearly we cover UH2, but this is what happens when you genuinely cover, and genuinely, you guys know we do cover HBU and the Division II schools a lot. But since we are technically the HBU broadcast tonight, the broadcaster's dream would be an upset, actually, which is
I am fully aware. You'll notice I didn't give
it's
a
like,
finish on that. I'm like 85-83. That's
I don't know which way it's going.
I don't care who wins, but 85-83 would be real fun or something like that. I don't know. I don't need that.
It would be such
score.
a weird conversation tomorrow, which we will, whatever
such
happens.
A
it's
strange balance of excitement for the Sharks and, oh my God, what is going on with the Rainbow Warriors? Frankly, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I do think it's going to be a competitive game.
How can you imagine, like, if you put your coaching hat on, if you're Jesse Nakanishi, Paul, how do you even begin to game plan, though, for Isaac Johnson? Like, Isaac Johnson has just been phenomenal this year. And when you're a smaller team, because Isaac Johnson, big fish is big fish because, one, of course, he has a size, but this guy can ball. Like, he is a very, very good basketball player, high IQ. Yeah. I think better than the one that they faced in Boise that they were able to shut down.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're Jesse Nakanishi and the Sharks, how do you even begin to try to game plan to, I mean, you won't completely stop Isaac Johnson. That's just not going to be the case, but to at least somewhat neutralize him and prevent him from really taking over this basketball game tonight.
I hope he has a bad night. Like, realistically, hope he has a bad night. No, I mean, you got to be physical with him. I think that's the biggest thing. And the Sharks do have multiple bodies that I'm sure they will end up throwing at him. I would assume Mai Dusanich gets the first shot at him. Zane Gall, as much as he is a freshman, he is starting to learn the college game a little bit more, and he's 6'10". He's a big boy. So at the very least, that's 5 fouls that they can throw at him. Not that I'm saying you want to put him on the free throw line, but also you want to be physical with Isaac Johnson, not allow him to get comfortable. And we did see them do that last year with Tanner Christensen. I mean, he wasn't really the same after they faced HPU, and obviously they don't have Jonas Visser this year, a little bit different makeup, but Mai Dusanich, Zane Gall, Quentin McCullough, QMac, he's a pretty physical player. He's listed at like 6'5". I think he's like 6'4". He's super athletic. He's super physical. He's super strong. So I would say being physical, probably try and bait some like okay 3-point shots, not wide open, but like make him think that it's open and then close it. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things. I said it tongue in cheek, but as I talk more, it's kind of serious. Like, hope he has a bad night.
Yeah, maybe get into foul trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe
which also is possible because we've seen that.
Maybe that could be the game plan. Just attack the middle, try to force him to get into some foul trouble, and then he's on the bench. And if he's on the bench, then you give yourself a chance
you feel
inside.
A lot better, especially if Harry Ruliadef isn't playing tonight.
Yes, that's true, too. If they got Harry, I mean, like I said,
then it changes the equation a little bit.
Harry is instrumental, I think, in this UH game. Yeah, he's not always going to have, like, be the guy like a big fish, but he has proven.
Allows them to be the best version of themselves.
He's proven in this season so far that he is instrumental in this team, and we saw that. Like, Hawaii was feeling him not being in the game against Arizona State.
I really do believe they win versus Arizona State
100%.
if he's there. Like, that's not even, you'll notice it's not even a higher register thing. It's just like, I think the difference in that game is Harry Ruliadef getting a chance to be your backup 5. Mm-hmm. It's just it. So, whatever.
Anyways, we can speculate all we want. They gotta go.
We'll
out there
talk
and
more
play
about it tonight.
Yeah. Tune in tonight again. Paul on the call for the play-by-play. I'll be right next to him in the analyst role for UH men's basketball versus HPU at Banco Arena at San Sheriff Center, 7:00 p.m. We'll jump on a little bit before that as well. So be sure you guys tune in. If you miss anything, you can also listen on demand if you miss anything crazy, or you just want to, listen to Paul's beautiful play-by-play voice. There you go.
I hope it's beautiful for some people.
I'm just saying. Never mind. I was going to take a shot there, but that's okay.
Come hang out with us
Come hang out with us. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll speak briefly about the UH women's basketball team as they took home the Bank of Hawaii Classic title over the weekend after beating Portland
back-to-back
yesterday, 66-61 in a battle. So it was nice to see. We'll also let you guys hear a little bit of the post game as well. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Who does
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. All right, going to stick with our hoops conversation, but head on over to the women's side. The Rainbow Wahine basketball team taking the Bank of Hawaii Classic title after beating LMU on Friday, 55-51, and then beating Portland yesterday, 66-61. And like we mentioned, you saw the return of a couple of significant players yesterday's game. One of those that made her return in Ritoria Tamilo, leading the scores with 16 points, just continuing to be that presence that I know they were missing for a while. But as to be expected, again, this is the non-conference preseason, however you want to tab it. So we know how significant these players are in Ritoria Tamilo, clearly, and Imani Perez. So a little bit of load management never really surprised us at all. But when they come into the game, shows why they are so significant. So before we talk about the game itself a little bit more, again, Hawaii 66-61 over Portland. I want to let you guys hear a little bit of the post game and what was said, and it features Laura Beeman, also Imani Perez, and Ritoria Tamilo. But it will start just with Coach Beeman's opening statement following that win last night.
Watching this team grow up in front of our eyes has been pretty amazing. The adjustments they made going into the second half was really fun to watch. We knew that our speed could affect them if we got downhill against the press in regards to the fabulous job of just breaking that pressing and keeping the momentum. And these two, what they do that doesn't show up on the stat sheet is very, very impressive. They're in rotations all the time. They're helping off bigs. They're stopping gaps. They're stunting, and then they have to go and get a rebound. Having these two back after not, I think it shows the potential of this group that we have an inside play, we have outside play. So just really impressed, very, very happy with this group, very proud of them for coming in and beating a very, very good Portland team.
Imani, what's it like to finally get a win against Portland? You guys have been going up against them pretty consistently the past few years, and good quality program to finally get one over on them. What's it mean?
Yeah, it means a lot. Me and Jovi were actually talking about it towards the end of the game. We were like, this is actually insane. But, we had a really good group of girls that put in the work to get here, and we did everything we could, and we came out with the W, and that's what we wanted.
And Coach, this is the first win for the program against Portland since 1992. None of these girls were alive back then.
I wasn't either.
Me either. What does it mean for this young group, like you said, to continue to come together over these opening few games and get a win like that against the really well-respected program like Portland?
Yeah, Mike does a great job with this program. They every year are in the mix to win that conference, and they will be again this year. They're also young, some kids that have been injured and coming back from injury. I don't look at numbers. I say that to you guys all the time. So, yeah, I guess that's cool. For me, it's we've recruited and continued to develop our players to make us transitional into not just where we are in the Big West, but going into the Mountain West. And we have to be able to play night in and night out against teams like Portland, this year in the Big West, and then next year in the Mountain West. So just bringing in a group of freshmen this season, bringing in a group of freshmen that are willing to listen to their vets. Mom's not very loud, but she has a huge impact on how she kind of orchestrates this team from behind the scenes. Obviously, Tori garners a lot of respect from these guys. So, we've recruited some very talented freshmen, but I think they're learning that it takes team effort. That's how you beat a team in Portland.
You guys also limited number 2 there for them throughout the afternoon. It seemed like just throwing a lot of different bodies at her. She started strong, but then throughout the game really fell off. What was the thought process? What was the defensive plan going up against her?
First half, we did not find her, and she had 11 points, some really tough threes, but she's a rhythm player. When she gets hot, it's heat check, heat check, heat check. So Rebecca Moores did a fabulous job this weekend on defense. She played against 0 on LMU, shut her down. We put her on, 17 off and on, definitely in the second half, and that made a huge difference. So the defensive adjustments were really fun to watch too. Learning what our left hand versus our right hand was at halftime was always huge. Making sure we're going over screens. But Bex was huge this weekend, big time. Good players.
And that was UH women's basketball post-game following their win over Portland last night. And that was head coach Laura Beeman alongside Imani Perez and Ritoria Tamilo. Now, I was kind of like in between watching it because this was kind of the game was going on when I'm like boarding the airplane and then trying to watch it on the Wi-Fi and all of that stuff. So I will kind of defer to you, Paul, and what were your takeaways from that game last night?
I mean, Coach Beeman said it. It's impressive to see this team growing up in front of our eyes where, I mean, this is a Portland program that has had the Rainbow Wahine's number for the past 7 matchups. They won 7 in a row against Hawaii. It's the first win since 1992 against the Pilots. And a lot of it was because a young team looked more veteran, right? Where down the stretch in a game where there were a lot of turnovers, they took care of the ball, where, their coach kept their cool. And this was something I was bringing up to you off air, where I thought Coach Meek for Portland essentially lost them this game at the start of the fourth quarter. If you go back and you look, Portland started to catch fire once again from 3-point range. They knocked down back-to-back threes to end the third quarter, go up by 1 to go into the fourth, and then start the fourth quarter on a 7-2 run. Takes a 6-point lead right there, and it feels like Hawaii is really searching for anything, something offensively, and they're struggling defensively all of a sudden, which is not a normal thing for Hawaii. And then with about 8:40 left, the head coach for Portland gets a technical foul. And if you go back on my timeline, I tweeted this out where in the first half, he got a warning from the officials because he was riding them the entire time. And listen, you guys know me. I'm not one to go easy on the officials. Yeah. I'm also somebody, I understand you got to work the officials and blah, 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 blah. It got to a point where I almost felt it was like showing them up and disrespectful of because I was sitting there and I'm like, you're asking for calls that aren't the call. He was asking.
Oh, I hate that.
Screaming 3 seconds when they're 1 foot's out of the paint and they're asking for travels and it's not a travel, or they're asking for a foul and it's not the way that the game has been called all the time. It was a lot of stupid complaints, I thought. Yeah. Because I was sitting there and I'm like, what are you? It's not that the officials aren't going to make calls or have moments that frustrate you as a coach, but also you got to understand the ebbs and flows of the game. And in this game, where every year it's close between Portland and Hawaii, I mean, It was a great start to the fourth quarter. After that technical foul coup, Portland didn't make a field goal for the rest of the game. Their only points were from the free throw line for the final 8:40 of this game.
Wow.
And part of that is due to the defense of the Rainbow Wahine. They deserve a ton of credit for it. But I thought it was so dumb where your team is finally hitting their stride on the road against this young team who is looking for answers, and instead of giving your team the chance to step on their throat, you stop the momentum, you get your team out of rhythm, you give a free throw or two to Hawaii. Bailey Flevel makes one of two, then assists a three-pointer to Amani Perez. Suddenly it's a one-possession game. Hawaii got the crowd back into it, and just like that, it's more so the Rainbow Wahine's game to lose. And that's what you saw, a great job by a young team, keeping their composure down the stretch, making the plays they needed to win the game. It's the first 4-0 start for the Rainbow Wahine in a quarter century. 25 years it's been since Hawaii women's basketball started a year 4-0.
Woo-hoo!
Hell yeah.
And we know part of that is Coach Beeman loves to schedule difficult in the non-con, right?
But they still are scheduling difficult, and
True.
they did it this year.
True.
Well,
I was just thinking more of like Stanford when they had Kiki Iriafen.
Yes,
and I'm
okay.
like,
We have not played a Stanford quite yet.
with Kiki.
That's fair.
Yeah. Or, yeah.
But even so.
But it's still, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
It's been Portland in previous years in
Yeah.
the first or second game of the season where you start on the road and you just can't quite pull it out there. And to be fair, they've been 4 home games, but Hawaii is taking care of business. And like Laura Beeman said, they are growing up right in front of our eyes. They deserve all the credit for this weekend. It's back-to-back years. They've brought home the Bank of Hawaii Classic Championship, 4-0 in their last 4 games in the Bank of Hawaii Classic. So excellent job to these young ladies. And I'm not going to call them young ladies much more if they're going to continue playing like this. Just a very impressive brand of basketball, both on defense and down the stretch.
And a lot of basketball coming up for all of you guys this week. Their homestand for both the men's and the women continue. Like we said, we'll have the broadcast for HPU versus UH men's basketball tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. But then the basketball action continues. The Rainbow Wahine and the American Savings Bank Rainbow Wahine Showdown this week, Friday against Vermont, 2:30 p.m. Hawaii time at Banco Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. And that's partially due to the fact that the men play on Friday against North Dakota at 7 p.m. That evening. So there is a lot of basketball. That's why we mentioned, Thanksgiving, Black Friday off, but not really. Off from the show is what we're kind of alluding to. Saturday, sticking with the women's schedule, they play Lindenwood. That game again at 2:30 at Banco Arena. And then Sunday, they play Santa Clara before going on the road finally to for Bold Week to play at UC Davis and Cal State Fullerton. Back on the men's
How's that
side.
for your first road trip?
Back on the men's side, again, Hawaii still continuing their homestand, like we said, against North Dakota on Friday. And then next week, Thursday, their Bold Week here at home against Davis and Cal State Fullerton. That's Thursday and Saturday action. Then the following week, they play UH Hilo and then UTEP, a future Mountain West opponent that they will see in the coming years. So that'll be a good one. That one's on December 13th against UTEP before the men go on the road in the new year. So a lot of hoops action in December. And again, a little bit in between there, we'll have some football action with the Hawaii Bowl. So it's going to be a fun sprint in December. So speaking of, we've been sprinting through this entire show. It feels like.
Where's the time
I know.
gone?
We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back to chat a little bit of Rainbow Wahine volleyball and let you hear from head coach Robin Amo and what she had to say following that senior night loss to Long Beach State. Also, one of the seniors in Tyler Reese Mane. So we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Bracht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, on demand wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming live on our YouTube channel this and every single Monday. But thank you guys for hanging out with us today or throughout the week as we are live 8 to 10 on radio or on demand and all parts in between. All right. I want to get just chat real quick about some Rainbow Wahine volleyball. Again, the UH women's volleyball team missing out on the Big West Conference tournament after losing to Long Beach State on Saturday in 4. On senior night, they took care of business on Friday, able to beat UC San Diego, but they needed to win. They were in that 6th spot in there, and they needed to win on Saturday in order to make it into the postseason tournament. But unfortunately, that did not happen, and once again, we can reflect on the season, and it was a tough one, full of adversity for the Rainbow Wahine with a ton of injuries that you really never planned for. But the fact of the matter is they still, and we were talking about this throughout the season, that they still very much had a chance to make it in there and potentially play their best volleyball when it mattered. And who knows, they could have won. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. Now their time does come to an end in the Big West, as we know, moving over to the Mountain West next year, which is going to be a whole other adjustment for not only the team, but even our coverage here, and not being able to talk about the matchups. It feels so weird. Like we did it with soccer, did it with the women's soccer, knowing that they're going to the Mountain West, and now it's like wrapping our head around the fact that all of these other sports now will follow suit with going over to the Mountain West. Well, before we kind of talk about a little bit more about the season and the game itself, want to let you guys hear from some of the post game following that match against Long Beach State. So we'll start off with head coach Robin Amo, and it just starts with her initial thoughts on the season ending.
Okay, well, initially not good. Definitely frustrated and angry. But it is what it is. That's how our season was going. We did have a chance. You know, we had to win this game. But again, like taking a breather, coming back in, and like got it. Like, you know, let's celebrate the seniors and send them off. But definitely disappointed. There was some signs of, you know, like, okay, we're right there. And then, you know, that lapse that, you know, we had all season, like that one lapse that just, you know, 5-point lead, 6-point run. Those are the ones that are hard. You know, trying to get them back in, trying to get some energy going back in it. I mean, the fight was there at times. When you get 11 to maybe, 11 to 13 errors, and you're losing by 6, turn some of those into points for us, it should be okay.
Coach, you still had more than 5,000 people come out to see you guys here, despite how tough of a season it was. You know, is that the kind of support you guys
definitely thank you to all the fans that, you know, supported the team, supported us through the season. Even though we did do up and downs, it's probably not the season that, you know, everybody wanted, but it is what it is. We'll just rebuild and come back again.
What are you gonna remember about these seniors today? The 3 seniors that were honored tonight.
What am I going to remember? I mean, Bree's just here for a year, but I love that girl. Such a great kid. I'll miss her in the gym. She started getting a little bit more, I guess, used to, or like around the girls and around the coaching staff. She started, you know, playing around with, you know, just word-wise. So definitely going to miss her. Tyla is my headache. She's my headache. She knows she's my headache. But love the girl. You know, she turned it around, you know, this year. That's good for her. And then Morg's been here, like she said, you know, she never thought she was going to play, but when she got on that court, she gave it all.
And that was Rainbow Wahine volleyball head coach Robin Amo following their game on Saturday night. Now here is one of the seniors, a.k.a. one of Robin's headaches, Tyla Reese Mane, senior outside hitter for UH, and what she had to say in the postgame.
I think the one thing I can use to explain my overall emotions is definitely just grateful. Like I've said many times, like this is one of my biggest blessings. And I'm just so thankful for the opportunity that I've been given to, you know, play in front of all these fans, all these supporters, and be able to play in front of my family and my friends, and it's just been the best 3 years of my life. I am somewhat satisfied with the way that we played tonight. Although we got the loss, I think we showed a lot of fight, a lot of heart, and that's definitely something that I can be proud of. And, you know, finally stepping away from this program, I think, as sad as it is, it's also, you know, what a way to go out.
Tyler, what was it like I know you guys had an uphill battle for a lot of the second half of the season. What was it just like on a day-to-day basis to try to, battle your guys way up to where, big turnout tonight where the fans are used to seeing you guys?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was definitely an uphill battle. There was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of hardship that we had to go through, but I'm really grateful for the girls that I've gotten to play with. I think through their support, we've been able to patch things up, grow as a team. Coach Rob references us as a young team, and I definitely agree with that. But I think going into the next couple of seasons, I'm excited to see where they go. So, yeah, it's sad to not be a part of it, but I'm happy to see and know that there's been growth throughout the years. So.
What did it mean to you to just play a full year with Chalet?
Chalet she's literally my twin. I've had so many people mistake us. Victoria mistakes us when we're passing all the time. She'll go, oh, go Chalet, and it's actually me, or vice versa. But Chalet has been one of my biggest supporters. Like I said, we're twins, but it's not even just in the way that we look or we act. Our everyday lives are pretty much the same. So we kind of mirror each other in certain ways, and it's really funny because she understands me in the way that nobody else does. She's always been there for me, and I love her so much.
How optimistic do you feel about the future of the program? A lot of young players, and I think you'll be watching closely next year.
Oh, definitely. I'll be at the home games as much as I can. I'm really excited for them. Like I was saying earlier, they have a lot of growing to do, but I think over the summer, over the spring, I think, the sky's the limit for them, and I'm super excited for them.
And that was Rainbow Wahine volleyball senior outside hitter Tyler Reese-Mane. Again, one of the seniors being celebrated there. We'll pull up the senior photo for you guys watching on YouTube. Tyler Reese-Mane, Morgan Monahan, and Bree Gunderson. But, Tyler Reese being on the team for quite some time there. So I wanted to make sure you guys were able to hear from her. But shout out and mahalo to those seniors from the Rainbow Wahine volleyball team. Again, not the season that a lot of Hawaii fans are used to missing out on the postseason conference tournament, which is rare. And Hawaii actually, again, they had a chance should they have won on Saturday against Long Beach State. They do finish off the conference season 8-10, tied with UC Irvine, which would have been for that sixth and final spot in the postseason. But UC Irvine does have that tiebreaker over Hawaii. So even though they both finish 8-10 in conference, Irvine gets that spot into the postseason because they had beaten UH earlier in this season. But to cap it off real quick, you got Davis at the top, Cal Poly, Long Beach State, UC Santa Barbara, CSUN, UC Irvine making up your tournament teams, and then Hawaii just right outside looking in. But as we mentioned, it was just a year of adversity with a couple of significant injuries and losing some of those players. And there were times where they did show some fight, as Coach Robin had mentioned, and even Tyla had mentioned, but it's just some of the errors start to creep in. Part of that is figuring out this young team and everyone's positioning and all of that stuff in between. So at least they kind of gave themselves a little bit of a chance to have some fight to make it into the postseason, but just came out ever so short.
Yeah. I mean, it was it was disappointing. I think you heard that in Coach Rob's voice. I think you heard that in Tyler's voice. I think you've heard it from the players all year. They understood it was a disappointing year. But nonetheless, and I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, moral victories. Oh,
no.
Everyone gets a trophy. But, it would have been very easy for this team to pack it in after Stella went down. Mm-hmm. I mean, you lose your top two outside hitters in a year that you're going into being referred to as a young team, which, by the way, anytime you're referred to as a young team, typically that's not like a compliment.
Yeah.
Would have been really easy for them to pack it in. And they didn't. I mean, this was a team that it took until quite literally the final day of the regular season for the rest of the Big West to keep them out of the tournament. And I say that for a reason, right? Because not only was it going to take them not winning, but also they needed Cal Poly to lose, or UC Irvine needed to beat Cal Poly.
Yes.
And Cal Poly, who is a top 4 seed in this tournament, getting swept by UC Irvine at home was quite interesting, I thought. But that's...
like collusion? No, I'm just kidding. But it is interesting when that happens. Yeah.
But that's what I mean when I say it takes the entire Big West to keep you out, where it's, it took multiple things on the final day of the regular season in what was the worst season in the history of the program to keep them out of the postseason tournament. I will give them a pass for that because, listen, years from hell happen. Trust me, I'm a Jets fan. I watch them every single year. Oh, gosh. But like Coach Robbins said, it just means they got to rebuild, and they will. And they're going in the Mountain West, so they got to take some real big swings in the offseason.
I'm trying to think. I have to go look it up because I know Utah State usually has a really good team, but they won't be in the Mountain West next year.
Bye.
I mean, UNLV is decent, but they're not like dominant in women's volleyball yet. Anyways, we'll see what happens in the Mountain West next year.
Always change.
Yeah, I think the main one I know is usually like Utah State. I just always like in my mind they're always at the top, and I think this year they're actually having like an incredible season too, or they were at one point. But
I don't know. They swept us at the start of the year.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back to close out the show here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brax closing it out here. Man, it flew by. A lot of sports to have talked about.
It's because we had 3 hours.
I know, that's true. We got used to the 3 hours, and now it's like, what happened to the time? I seriously feel like we had to shorten like some of the commercial breaks too. It's like, what just happened? And there's still more to talk about. Luckily, we get to be with you guys for 2 hours every single day this entire week because there will be more to talk about. We talked a lot about UH football in the first hour and got into some hoops this hour. We just talked some Rainbow Wahine volleyball. So if you missed any of that stuff, feel free to go back and listen or watch on demand wherever you get your podcasts or via our YouTube channel. Now, want to close out with it real quick because something else happening in the state of another, state tournament in football happening this weekend amongst everything else going on, or not this weekend, but next weekend, the state tournament football action. And you guys, in case you haven't seen it, we will have we will crown next week, Friday, a new state football open division champion. So it will neither be Kahuku or St. Louis that could potentially win the open division state football championship. And I think that's really exciting because Campbell coming up with the upset over Kahuku 15-12 in one of the semifinals. And then in the other semifinal, either team making it would have been a first timer there. Kamehameha School's Kapalama able to beat the Hurricanes of Kapolei 31-10. So it will be Campbell versus Kamehameha Kapalama for the state football open division championship happening next week, Friday, 7:00 p.m. at Ching. So unfortunately for our colleague Zor Ned, it wasn't going to be a Kapolei versus Campbell matchup, but nonetheless, I think this is very exciting and really cool. And obviously, we still love our friends at Kahuku and Red Raider Nation. Shout out to all of you guys. Obviously, St. Louis High School having all of the football history that they have. But it is really, really cool to think about the fact that we will have, for once, a new open division champion. It'll be the first time Campbell is even having the opportunity to win a football championship in the highest level. They did win the Division II championship back in 2004, and Kamehameha Kapalama last state championship was also in 2004, right? Am I saying that
2009.
correctly? 2009, excuse me. I was like, I know I'm missing the date. But nonetheless, new open division state champion. No matter what, whoever wins, no matter what, you get a new state football, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's funny. You said you're like, oh, first timers and whatever. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, okay, yeah, Campbell. But I'm like, Kamehameha Kapalama, like that's a respected program that like produces some real talent and whatever. But then I went and I looked. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, that's right. It's always the Kahuku St. Louis Bowl with Mililani sprinkled in here and there. And then Punahou once as well. But, I mean, tell you what, I'm pumped. Like, this is why you play high school sports, for opportunities like this. I can't imagine the conversations, the vibes over the next couple of weeks on both of those campuses. I mean, it's so cool. And, man. By the way, if you told me that Campbell, after losing Jaron Keawe Songapolatele, was going to go to the Open Division State Championship,
what was happening
I would have been like,
here?
what are you talking about? But nonetheless, awesome year. And they're not the only ones. 2 awesome matchups in D1 and D2 as well. So really, really excited.
Yeah, so coming up this Friday, again, Open Division is next week Friday, but this Friday is Division 1 and Division 2. And our friends at Kailua have an opportunity to win their first state football championship ever, as they will take on the number 1 seed in Kapa'a. Again, that game is the second game, that one in Division 1 at Mililani High School. So Kapa'a versus Kailua in Division 1 state tournament action on Friday. Kailua beating Kona Waina, a school who has won the state championship before, 24-7, and then Kapa'a beating Damien 31-26 in the Division 2 side. The matchup, that game at 4:00 p.m. again at John Kawinana Stadium at Mililani High School, will be between Kamehameha Schools Maui and Waimea. So a battle of the top 2 seeds, Waimea being the 2 and Kamehameha Maui being number 1. Kamehameha Maui beating Kamehameha Hawai'i in the semifinal 37-18, and then Roosevelt in a Waimea getting a huge stop on the 2-point conversion over Roosevelt, 27-26 in a close one, to make their way into the state tournament championship for Division 2. So again, those 2 games happening on Friday, this Friday, and then Open Division next week Friday, in which a new state champ will for sure be crowned in the Open Division state tournament. So we'll talk about that more throughout the week as well. And again, shout out to our Michael Liscaro, who is traveling on other islands. Pretty cool stuff on our social media. But for now, we got to go. Paul Ku'ule Akbayani, we'll talk to you tonight for HPU men's basketball on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Bye.
KGU AM,